harmonies. It's always beautiful. We can dream. We can envision. We can dream. We can live in the realm of possibility. We can take those visions that are in our mind and we can see them being made manifest here on earth, and that is through spiritual laws. Spiritual laws that are in place for our good, for our well-being individually and collectively, to manifest all those dreams in this realm. And that's our job, not God's job. That's ours. But first, a little story. So there were two little old ladies, and they were driving a big old Buick through downtown Atlanta. They could hardly see over the dashboard of this huge car. And they're driving along, and the one old lady in the passenger's seat notices that they just went through a red light. And she says, this couldn't possibly be. Maybe I'm mistaken, that maybe it was a green light, and I just couldn't see it. I'll just wait till the next light. And they go a little farther in downtown Atlanta, and sure enough, the next intersection, the car goes rolling right through the next red light. And she's getting a little nervous and a little scared right now. I'm feeling a little, but maybe I was mistaken. Maybe I just need to cut her some slack and just make sure that everything's okay. Mildred, I'm sure she knows what she's doing. Comes to a third light, and sure enough, a third red light, the car goes rolling right through the intersection, no brakes applied whatsoever. Well, at this point, she's getting a little bit scared. And she turns to her friend and says, Mildred, do you realize that you just rolled through 3 red lights? You could have killed us. And Mildred turns to her friend and says, oh, am I driving? Here's the reality. You're all driving. You are behind the wheel of your life. You are behind the wheel of your circumstance, and you may be going right through red lights, not paying attention because you've fallen asleep and you've gotten unconscious. So many people in the world are going, oh, I thought you were driving. I thought you were driving. Let me put the responsibility of the red, the green, the yellow lights on somebody else. But the reality is the responsibility falls squarely in our heart, in our experience, in our life. We are the ones driving. I am responsible for my life. Say that with me. Not God. Go ahead and repeat after me. Not God. Not my parents. Nobody in my field. I am responsible. So we get to drive through the lights and pay very close attention to the intersections that happen in our experience. Here at Unity North, we talk a whole bunch about love. Isn't love a wonderful, juicy, warm feeling to talk about? And we come together and we think, let's just talk about love and love only. And it feels so good, and we get to be nurtured and held up and held in the arms of people that just love us even with all of our screw-ups. They love us even with all of our idiosyncrasies. And that feels so good because we're beholding the divine essence. But love without a partner doesn't work. We have contextualized God as love. Yes, God is the expression of love at its fullest, but there is a partner to love that without it, life doesn't work. We're all wanting to manifest the life that we are dreaming and envisioning in here. We can dream it, and we play in love, and we don't ever implement spiritual law. They are partners, the yin and the yang. Let's go ahead and put the heart up there, Wes. They are absolutely equal partners. God as love and God as law, or life as love and life as law. And the reason we don't want to spend too much time in the law is it gets a little sticky. It gets a little uncomfortable. We have to take personal responsibility. Let's just go back to talking about love and then complaining about why life isn't working. Let's go back to talking about the things that feel so good and that feel so comfortable and then wonder why it is our life isn't working, because there is not an implementation of the other half of the equation that is absolutely necessary, and that is spiritual law. It's a twofold nature to life. So here's the breaking news today. The breaking news. Next slide. Spiritual laws are necessary. Details at 11. This is the way most metaphysicians, most people on the spiritual path in Unity churches contextualize the use of law. Oh my gosh, I've just learned that I have to apply law in order to achieve my dreams, to achieve heaven on earth. We'll get to that at 11 o'clock. We'll get to that later on. I'll handle that tomorrow because it just feels so good to be in love. So we'll get to it, details at 11. No, details are at 11:15 at Unity North today, or 11:41 today. We're going to talk about the details. And I hope I make you a little bit uncomfortable. I make myself uncomfortable when I talk about this because it means complete and total responsibility for the life that I am living. Love without law dies. Love without the implementation of spiritual principles cannot exist. It does not exist without it. But religious leaders throughout history, not just in metaphysical churches, but in churches throughout history, have tried to put personality over the top of law. Has tried to take the realm of personality and cover up law. Let's put law on the back burner on a shelf over here and not talk about it, because it's really difficult to manipulate people when they realize that they have the control. It's really difficult to control people when they have in their hands the ability to manifest their life and they don't need me. So let's put the law over here and let's make God a personality. Let's create life and God in the image of a man who is controlling. Therefore, we don't need responsibility anymore. We can blame God or the devil or our brother or a sister for everything in our life. Here at Unity, all right. You don't get to be 86 years old feeling all right without taking some personal responsibility and having a goddess for a wife. You owe me a little extra money in the baskets for that one, Imani. Indian philosopher and theosophist says this. I'm going to invite you to read this quote with me right now. Let's go ahead and put that up there and let's read it together. A true religious theosophist considers it blasphemous and sacrilegious to invest with personality the eternal divine principle, which is nothing short of an attempt to drag down the infinite to the level of the finite. We have taken the most beautiful tool in our toolbox and put it on the shelf and said, let's just give it a personality. And we have dragged it down, and guess what? It's blasphemy. Those who are of a spiritual nature, mystics, think and will tell us that religion has absolutely been living in blasphemy and sacrilege, that which they're calling everybody out that sits in a unity church for doing. And actually the blasphemy and the sacrilege exists within religion since the beginning of time, because they've taken the truth and they put a personality over the top of it. You know what? Doing that is like, and then blaming that God for everything that happens in your life. It's God's will, it must be, or the devil's involved. It's like cursing the seatbelt for keeping you safe when you're in a car accident. It's like cursing that bar on the roller coaster ride for keeping you safe. You're on a ride, and life sometimes can feel like that. Big roller coaster ride, you're being jerked around. Curse this bar. Brian Perry gave me that one. I love that image. Curse that bar. It's like the guy that's jumping out of the airplane saying, this parachute is so darn restrictive. I can't stand this parachute. I just don't feel free. Take it off and see what happens. I love flying for a good 3 minutes, and then I never fly again. Or I make peace with the parachute, the law of the universe, and realize that I have the ability to fly every day, to go up for another flight, and to have views that nobody else has ever seen. You don't do that by getting rid of the parachute, and you don't do that by getting rid of spiritual law and giving the responsibility to a personality. Blaming God when you run the red light and get hit. How did God let this happen? How did God let this happen? How did you fall asleep to the spiritual law of a red light? To the spiritual law of listening to what was within? You see, use and respect of spiritual law puts into play the orderly universe. By design was created a sense of order, a laboratory of living with repeatable processes and rules and principles. Who likes rules? Yeah. I hope you do. I hope your hand is up at the end of the talk, because the rules in place, put into place not by a capricious entity, but by the organic nature of life itself, are necessary for you to thrive, are necessary for you to become everything you could be. And guess what? Our master teacher, Jesus, knew this. He taught it, and we didn't pay attention. It was just easier to twist his words and to have different interpretations on it and put law over here on the shelf. This is what Jesus had to say. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law. I have not come to abolish it, but to fulfill it. Here is the Christ essence, the divine essence, the most enlightened person to walk the planet. Oh, I thought I said something funny. It does happen once in a while. Law and order. Can you hear that? What is that little melody? You get to hear it. But the reality is we live in an orderly universe. Law and order is in place, and Christ knew it. And he came to earth, went around earth teaching law. And we went, oh, that's too scary because that means responsibility. Put law over here. Do you know that a more accurate translation of the Bible, the Aramaic, he didn't talk about Lord. We hear the word Lord. We sang it. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Jesus was saying, thank you, law. I have come not to abolish the laws, but to wake you all up that you're living in a laboratory of these laws and you have forgotten. If you go back and read the Bible, just read the Bible again. Oh, just read Jesus' words. Go to the red letter edition and replace the word Lord with the word law. Replace the word Lord with the word principle. Replace the word Lord with divine order. It's a whole different book. And I believe that throughout history we've just absolutely twisted and turned the language and the words and the principles and the teaching and gotten dumb, gotten spiritually dumb, because that's the way religious leaders wanted us to be. Ignorant, we have the power, you don't. And I'm saying come here and learn that you have the power by implementation. The Bible is all about law, the implementation of law. When you use the tools, you cooperate with the ordered patterns of the universe, by law and order, love will be manifested in 1,000 different ways that you can't even imagine right now. You want more love in your life? Start making peace with the law. And I'm going to submit to you today that I believe that science has done more to create oneness on the planet than religion. Science and technology has done more to create oneness on the planet than religion. Why is that? Because science leans into the laws. Science puts at the forefront laws. Technology puts science at the forefront. Law and order at the forefront. And what does religion do? Put it on the back shelf, and let's put a personality in its place. I am personally connected to people in Australia, to people in China, to people in Russia, to people in Nebraska, to people in California. Not because of spiritual truth that I have implemented or spiritual laws that I have implemented, but because of scientific and technological laws that brought me together. I'm not going to put that on the shelf. I'm going to say, what can science teach me about oneness? What can my cell phone and my computer teach me about oneness? And that seems a little bit contrary to what we think. But as I look at the history of the human race, religion has done more to divide us than bring us together, because we've put ourselves in pretty little boxes. Now, does that mean that spiritual law is not as powerful as scientific law? No. It just means that we need to pay attention to it, because it is equally as powerful. I believe more powerful because it's got the entire universe behind it. But we have to implement the laws and get rid of the personality God where we can blame for everything. So, what are those laws that we're talking about? There are millions and millions of laws operating right now as you think. As we sit here together, millions of laws operating, I'm going to give you the ones that I think are most important to me. But go ahead and spend some time with the ones that are important to you. Law number 1, the law of vibration. Science has shown us, religious teachers have shown us, everything is vibration. Everything is vibrating and oscillating at a certain rhythm, a certain meter. And what do we learn about that? I go to the keyboard right now and I hit a note. I don't know, is it on? Michael, is it on? Let me see. Yep, it's on. I hit a certain note on the piano. Guess what happens? Scientifically, all the other notes up here begin to vibrate that are in congruity with that note. You may not hear them out of the surface, but they are there, sometimes called overtones, sometimes called angels. I don't care what you call it. But you hit a note, and there's vibrations that are happening. You don't like the note you're on, you don't like the vibrations you're experiencing, change the note. Change the vibration. Water seeks its own level. You know that? Water only gets to its next level. That is a spiritual metaphor. Here's where you're vibrating. You are attracting everything and everybody that is in congruity with that vibration. You don't like what you're seeing. You don't like what you're experiencing. Change the vibration. Take responsibility. Because those people, those circumstances are not in your life by accident. Take a look at the vibration and change the vibration, up the vibration. Do whatever it takes to change the vibration of your thought patterns, the vibration of your feelings, the vibration of your history, the vibration of your actions. And then life begins to change. But don't put the cart before the horse. So many people are going around saying, I will be fine when the world changes. I will be fine in this relationship if you will just change your vibration. Here's the responsibility. And guess what? When you say here's the responsibility, you're also saying here's all my power. You have all my power. Just take it and abuse it however you want. Take it back. Change the vibration. That's a law. A law. When I hit this bowl, there can be 20 bowls in the room, and the ones that are in congruity with that bowl are going to show up in my field. The ones that are not will leave the field. They won't vibrate. They'll remain stagnant. Number 2, the law of perpetual, this is a mouthful. You might want to write this down. The law of perpetual energetic transmutation. Let me say it again. The law of perpetual energetic transmutation. Okay, everything's vibration. Everything is energy. Picture right now that I gave you a ball of pure potentiality, a ball of light. Put it right in your lap right now like a big beach ball. Hold that there. Feel that there. The universe has given you itself as a ball of potentiality, a beautiful white, green, I don't care what color it is. Call it white, call it transparent, I don't care, but it's in your lap. It's in your field. It has been gifted to you. It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. All the heaven on earth that you could ever desire exists in your lap right now. And the transmutation of that energy is you get to use that energy the way you see fit. You want to go left, you want to go right. You want it to go up, you want it to go down. You are responsible. And for too long, we have been afraid to say the truth. We say in this church a lot, and some people get really irritated by it, that you are the cause. No, God is the cause. No, you are the cause. God is the source. God is the ball of light. God is the potentiality. God is the energy. Here you go, here I am. For God so loved the world that presence gave itself, all the wholeness of itself, into your hands. Now you are the cause of what you do with that energy. You can transfer that energy, transmute it into hate, into anger, into anxiety, into fear, into violence. You can transmute it anywhere you want, or you can put it into that level of compassion. You can channel that into kindness and generosity and love. But who's responsible for that? You are. The ball of energy doesn't care. It is an impersonal. Law is impersonal. And there's so many people going around praying to God, give me the guidance. The guidance has already been given. You claim it, you affirm it, you know it, you then implement it through action. So the law of the energy is the energy that's going out is a great invitation to come back to you. And if you don't like the energy that's coming back to you, change the vibration, change the energy, turn the other cheek, Jesus said, and look a different way. Because you are responsible. And when you do that, when you get that simple idea, you become the Lord. Not a word in a book. You become the Lord. Not an old man somewhere. Not a relationship. You are the Lord. You are then the manifestation of God in form law. You're implementing the law, and you're living as the law. Let's go ahead and move forward. The law of mental equivalence. The law of mental equivalence. I learned this in religious science. Everything in life has a counterpart in mind. Everything in this world that is out here was created first in mind and has a thought pattern, a habit that's going on the inside. Trace it back to the root. We spend the world in the world of effects. We spend all of our attention on effects. And the reality is we need to go back to the cause. And who is the cause? God, right? No. You are the cause. Come home. The prodigal son coming home is coming home to themselves. Those of us who have wandered far from the source come back to the realization that the source is all right here, right now, and I change the mental equivalent, and I become then the master of what's going on between my ears. Who's driving the bus? Who's driving the bus in your life? Something somebody told you, something somebody taught you, or something that you innately know? I'm saying come home. Innately know that you are that powerful. The presence of God is made manifest at the point of you. And you have played small. Not only, as we heard from Dr. DeAndre, in the cells of your being, take the power back to be your own healer, to be your own healing. But I'm saying everything in your life, you are the conduit for a greater experience and a greater expression by changing the mental equivalent, it's between your ears. Change the thought, change your life. Change your thinking, change your life. Change what you allow access into your mind and your brain, and you absolutely change the experience. Now, does it mean that all the circumstances are going to change? Nope. Because you're not controlling any of that stuff, but you're controlling your reaction to it. You're controlling how you are responding to what's going on. And I believe the same circumstance can be before two people. One will be in heaven and one will be in hell. Which one are you going to choose? And I say it over and over and over again. One of two things will always happen. When you change the vibration, when you change the pattern, when you change the mental equivalent, that person's either going to shift before your eyes or they're going to leave your field because they're not oscillating at the same vibration. And we say, good riddance. I will be here when you wake up to the Christ of you are, but I don't play that game anymore. I'm holding a higher vibration, and I want to attract higher vibrations into my life. This all dances very, very beautifully on the edge of the laws of cause and effect. You are the cause. You are not an effect. Be the cause. Instead, quit giving all your power away to the effects of life. By law and order, you have been given the ability to manifest the life that you desire, and for too long you've been playing small. For too long we've all been playing small, and we've received all kinds of teachings from religious leaders and parents and people who said, no, I have the power. Power resides with me and me only. And the great bastardization of Jesus' teaching was in taking his beautiful teachings to say, you have the power. You are the light of the world. You are the magnificence. And we listened to the voices that were speaking on Jesus' behalf and not the man himself. Let's go back to the Aramaic language and realize that law is operating and law is in your hand. I want to talk a little bit about one of my favorite laws, and it's one that came up for me this week at a board meeting. I sat at a board meeting this week, and I heard numbers I didn't like. And I said, well, I got to talk about the law of circulation then today. Who knows what the law of circulation is? Basically is you go out, comes in, goes out, comes in, goes out, comes in. What's the first thing that happens when you go to the doctor or you go to the hospital and you got a concern? What's the first thing that a nurse or a practitioner does? Let me check your pulse. Understanding that without the flow, you are dead. It doesn't matter what's going on in your body. If this is not flowing and moving, you are basically dead. And I thought, well, that's just perfect. That's a spiritual law as well. We are designed by nature to be in a constant flow. You see, energy is in constant motion. It does not stop. It cannot stop. This is the nature of energy. Ask any scientist, ask any minister. They'll tell you the spirit of God essence, the light, is perpetually moving. And you're either cooperating with that movement or you're not. Plain and simple. Now, the numbers weren't horrible. They weren't terrible. But they're not demonstrating a congregation that is absolutely aware of the law of circulation. And I want to talk a little bit about that today. Growing up, the wealthiest family, and we were farmers. We didn't have a lot of money. Or we did. My father hid it from us. But the reality is that there was a family that used to come visit my grandparents. And they were the Sakais. And I remember being enamored as a child. This a Japanese family. They always looked so put together. And it was obvious that they lived in the energy of abundance and prosperity. And I said, I want to have what they have. I want to emulate that. I want to be like that. And they were the kindest people on the planet. But what I noticed, even at a very young age of 6, 7, 8 years old, was every time the Sakais came to visit my grandparents, they never came empty-handed. They brought an energy and an atmosphere to my grandparents and to the kids. I have something to offer you. What can I give you? And sometimes it was beautiful bouquets of flowers for my grandmother. And sometimes, and it was hard for a 6-year-old to understand that, it was a basket of toilet paper. It didn't matter what the gift was. It was the energy of circulation. You knew when the Sakais were coming to your house, they were there as much to give as they were to receive. And I think I'm just going to call it out. Sometimes there are people that come into this environment and they say, what can I get? What can I get from this environment. Was the music good enough? Was the talk good enough? Was that meditation good enough? No, I didn't get anything. And what I tell people, if you're not getting it from here, it's because you're not bringing anything into the room. Give something. And that is not because this church needs it. We are not a needy organization. We are a prosperous organization, and we're doing just fine. I want it more for you than I do for the church, because I want you to apply the law of circulation and to be into the flow and to live as prosperous as the Sakais. Deepak Chopra absolutely knew this. Here's what Deepak Chopra had to say. Go ahead and read this with me. The universe operates through a dynamic exchange, giving and receiving. In our willingness to give that which we seek, we keep the abundance of the universe circulating in our lives. You want more love? Give more love. You want more kindness? Be kinder. You want more prosperity? Well, then put more than $5 in the basket, because what we do here is way more valuable than $5. What we do here is way more, it's like a commercial. It's priceless. Richard's sermon for the day, $10. The real cost is it's priceless. The music is priceless. The experience of sitting next to people who are in that garden that I talk about every week, growing and stretching and beholding the magnificence of you, even at 86 years old. That is a priceless gift. And I'm inviting you into the consciousness that the law of circulation just needs to be implemented a little bit more than it's been here at Unity North. And look out, because we're going to go somewhere. So it's every atmosphere you walk into, every circumstance, every class, your work, your family, your church, something in the community. Bring the mindset that says, what can I bring? What can I offer? Not what can I get? Because the getting will be tremendously more because you are bringing a gift, even if it feels like it's as simple as toilet paper. All I have to bring is toilet paper. Your toilet, let me tell you, when I go into the men's room here, that toilet paper is very valuable. And we don't think about that, do we? There's an expense to the toilet paper, and we go through a lot of toilet paper at Unity North. Everything's got a cost, and I'm just saying own it. Own the bathrooms at Unity North. Own the children's program at Unity North. Own the services at Unity North. Own the classes that you get. Own the relationships that are built here, because we have this beautiful building. Own it, and then demonstrate it by action, which is the next one, the law of inspired action. You know, we like to live in how. Somebody first service said, well, this is great. I understand the laws. Give me the how. Here's the how. When your body is engaged in the creative process, by law, more energy is amplified. The energy of that ball is no longer a beach ball. It's a huge ball that cannot be contained, because you have actively moved your body and used the gift of your body for something more tremendous. St. Paul and I love to wrestle. I don't like to spend some time in St. Paul, but he says some really good things that it's important to recognize. This is what he had to say. For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's Galatians chapter 5. The entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command. Love your neighbor as yourself. And let me tell you, talk is cheap. Loving your neighbor has nothing to do with the thought in your mind. Loving your neighbor has nothing to do with the feeling of beholding the Christ within them. Love is contained within the action that demonstrates my love for you, that you are as vitally important on this planet to the human race as I am, and that means getting my body behind it. That means getting my actions to meet the congruity of what's going on in my head. This is what Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote. Do we have that quote? Let's read it together. An ounce of action is worth a ton of theory. Your action is the great invitation, a great fishing pole that you're throwing out to the universe that says, I'm in it. That my thoughts are deserving of my action. That my faith is not stagnant and contained in the environment here, but my faith is active. It is moving. It is stirring. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make manifest a greater reality for myself, for my family, for the human race, for the family of earth. Based upon the thoughts that I'm holding in mind, get busy. That's the how. Demonstrate spiritual law. When the basket comes by in a minute, I'm going to invite you to demonstrate the law of circulation. When you go home and you're confronted with a difficult moment, When you go home and that same dark experience is still there, I'm going to say, okay, get busy implementing the law of mental equivalence. Change the thought, change the vibration, change the pattern that you're holding here and here and here. And then look out, because law is then implemented by the actions that you take. And the final law I want to give you is the law of focused attention. We've all heard it, that energy goes where attention goes, something to that effect. It's a natural law that where you're looking, you're dictating that energy, that ball of light. You're saying, this is where I want it to go. That's what you're looking at. What are you listening to? Where do you spend your time with your ears? Is it in garbage? Because if you're listening to garbage, there's garbage headed your way. We need to have the guts and the courage when we're in an environment of listening to garbage to go, no, these ears are cut off. I don't do that. I'm going to go listen elsewhere. What you're looking at, turn the other cheek. If this doesn't serve, if this is not creating the life that you want, look differently, think differently, take a different action. This is basic, foundational unity principles 101. And here's the good news. You better pay attention, because it's operating. It's good news and bad news, because the law is operating whether you're conscious to it or not. You know, there's one more story of a traffic. A woman went driving through a light, and it was a green light, and she saw the camera go off. The camera went off, and she said, oh, that they think they've got me. It was a green light. I've got the evidence. In fact, she was so sure of herself that she drove around 5 more times around the block. When that light would go off, she'd make a face, and she'd drive around the block again, go through the green light, and go, make face and have fun. And she was laughing all the way until 5 weeks later, when 5 tickets showed up in her mailbox for not wearing a seatbelt. Pay attention. What we do here and what we talk about here is not light, fluffy, spirituality. It is rubber meets the road spirituality. And if you're not paying attention, you're playing with fire. You have been handed today with just a few principles, fire. And you're going to go out these doors. And you're either going to stay awake or you're going to fall asleep. And the consequences will not be God's fault. The consequences will not be my fault or anybody's fault in your life. You're either awake with fire, creating the most beautiful, magnificent, warm, light world, or you're falling asleep with fire. That's the law of God. I don't recommend that you fall asleep with fire in your hand, because it will burn the house down. And if your house is burning, here's the good news. By grace, you can make a different decision. By grace, you can go, oh, I need to stay awake. And it's not about beating yourself up. And somebody first service was challenging me, and I loved the challenge. They said, well, here you are. Here's where your life is. All you have to do is meditate, and you'll be here. Well, that sounds really pretty. That's the end result, a human doing to a human being. But there are steps in between here and here. And here are the steps that we talked about. I'm going to go back to the piano here, just because I can. Pretty Chopin, really nice. That's where you should go. Sit down and play Chopin. I know you can't play Chopin. You never had a music lesson, but go ahead and play Chopin. Well, let me tell you, I didn't get to play Chopin as improperly as I play it by sitting down and just going, okay, it's instantaneous. What does it take? What's the how? Hard work. It was sitting with my grandmother going like this. That's what life looks like sometime. And that moment of choice and decision when you go, you keep doing it. You fall down, you get back up. You don't beat yourself up when you screw up. You don't beat yourself up when you catch yourself going unconscious. Oh, I got burned. There's fire in my hand. Great. Thanks for the reminder. I've got fire. Let me make a different choice. Let me look a different way. Let me participate with the laws of the universe put in place for my well-being, for my good. And then let me surround myself with other people who are using that law. As we started with the silly joke, you are driving. You're the only one driving. Pay very, very close attention. There's red lights and there's green lights. and you have the energy in your lap alone. Let's go into a time of meditation. I'm going to invite you. Thank you. Take a deep breath with me. I hope that I made you just a little bit uncomfortable. Uncomfortableness is a good place to get back in touch with the laws. Love is in the comfort zone. Law is in the uncomfortable zone. And together, yin and yang come together to create something beautiful. Let us absolutely know that law and love are residing at the point of us as we sing, "You are the face of God."